ليش طلعتي؟ ليش رحتي العراق؟
طلعت لأنه إرهاب بالعراق، ما قدرنا نعيش هناك، يجون علينا بالليالي، عفت بيتي وعفت أغراضي وعفت فلوسي وعفت البنك كله عفته. طلعت بطرد نفسي، كله أخذوه كله. لا هسه دخلت من أتذكر أدوخ.
Because of the fear that they were facing there, so they packed they just had to leave everything behind, her house, their possessions, everything. They just had to leave. They were just scared of anyone coming, knocking on their door in the middle of the night, and they just couldn't live in that fear anymore.
Stop the killing, stop the pain. Your corruption is to blame. Stop the killing, stop the pain. Your corruption is to blame. Stop the killing, stop the pain. Your corruption is to blame. Stop the killing, stop the pain. Your corruption is to blame. Stop the killing, stop the pain. Your corruption is to blame. Stop the killing, stop the pain.
And then there's the whole context of war and the sense of what Britain has been implicated in the massive destruction of people's lives and livelihoods and quality of life, and heritage is just a small part of that. And everybody I know in Iraq has lost family members to war, to torture, to corruption, to general terrible health conditions. I mean, just the whole thing is just awful. And we British as a country bear a lot of responsibility for that.
Basra, my town, was beautiful town. Was really beautiful. We have a river, beautiful river. They call it Nahr al-Ashar, and we have corniche, what you call it. Beautiful, everything. It was fruit, everything, and we have a desert. You could go to desert where they call it Rumelia, Ethel, that desert. This government they came, this one, they killed everything. They destroy everything. Water, we have no water now. The river, what they say, المجاري مال القاذورات فتحوها بالنهر. And the river. From that river, the water comes to the people to drink it.
رقم 6 بعد هذا الرقم اللطيف يأتي الله.
But I still have connection with Iraq because all my family there, and as you said, the identity is British Iraqi because but sometimes feeling like lost between two countries. Here I am British, but sometimes I feel I'm not British.
In Baghdad over the last decade, just like in Palestine, there are a lot of big concrete blast walls to protect against explosions, the big ugly concrete barriers. And one way of coping with that has been to paint them, just to decorate them, and there have been a lot of youth groups and community groups that go out and paint pretty pictures on these things. And so ancient Mesopotamian things are not the only one, but are kind of common. And so you see all this imagery of like winged bulls or sort of iconic objects from ancient Mesopotamia that are on the blast walls, these anti-ISIS, the anti-Daesh blast walls in Baghdad, and the images themselves are things that the British stole in the 19th century.
In Nineveh and the earlier capital cities, because the reliefs show the gardens with the hydraulics that kept them all fed with water. So they were incredibly advanced and incredibly sophisticated people. The things that they had, their artifacts, are absolutely beautiful and just amazing.
Hannah Gobble, would you agree that before we used to think, oh, it's so terrible that all of these artifacts are outside of Iraq, but now maybe we think actually maybe it's good because it's lucky that they're outside of Iraq because then they weren't destroyed or damaged or stolen
No, that's right.
after the war, maybe? I don't know, what do you think?
must go back again, turn it back again to our country.
بسيف.
Yeah?
No.
No.
But there are museums now that like Basra
لا مو
Museum.
يبوقوا بس
and
هسه بهذا
museums in
الوقت ما
Baghdad.
ترجعين العراق وماكو امان هم يحطموها مثل بالموصل.
Okay, we can keep it as a deposit here, temporary.
على الأقل محتفظين بيها.
As a deposit for a long time.
وأحسن من تروح.
Something very important to every nation, and that is continuation. You are not emerging from nothing. You are emerging from space and time. And the space and time for us Iraqis is Mesopotamia. If we go back to the original, then Mesopotamia. It may be different nation, maybe different people, but nevertheless there is that continuity to us till now. And I think we need to protect that, and we need to learn from it. And we are not doing that. We are destroying it, unfortunately. Heritage is being destroyed.
Use it. They needed the information storage. They found techniques to store their information. And of course, one can say that societies rely on that storage. And maybe they become civilizations, only become civilizations when they establish a memory. And this is what archives are. They are the memory of collectives, memory of groups, memory of societies.
I have this incredible privilege of being able to hold in my hand a piece of clay inscribed by somebody 3,500 years ago on this particular archaeological site, and I am the first person to have read it since the person who wrote it. And one of the emotional responses I have is the fact that it's in my hand, and you're somehow kind of holding hands by proxy with a 3,500-year-old dead person. And you're looking at their spelling mistakes, and you're trying to get what they're saying, and finally, you're reading their letter, whatever it is they've written, and you've made that very personal connection. But that personal connection doesn't really make sense unless you know about all the other people around them and the social and sort of material world in which they lived. So, there's this incredibly exciting challenge about how we take the work of archaeologists and give it that material and textual impact in the way that it's really quite hard for museums to do right now.
And it is not just archaeology. Heritage is beyond that. It's much bigger. It's about culture, it's about science, it's about yesterday as well. It's part of my heritage. It's my father when he built his house. That is heritage to me. So when I destroy it, I destroy something inside me as well. When you're looking at the young people, you say, really, Iraq has a future. And that's the only place where you can actually say Iraq has a future. To start with, there are lots of cafes now, which are educational cafes, they call them, because they have books as well as cafe to encourage people to read. And it's for the young people, mainly for young people. They sit and enjoy themselves, and the music, back into culture.
Very nice. This is the music?
Yeah. This is the radio was
So it works with Bluetooth?
Bluetooth.
Very good.
This Iraqi.
What's his name?
ناظم الغزالي.
I'm gonna upgrade it.